Ugh, it's not strong enough. Coffee at home is better.
Elvinia sipped her coffee and let out another small grumble. She had obtained this poor excuse for morning stimulant from the corner Moonkick coffee shop near their house. The morning had been a hectic one, and Linnet had already left, as she had an early conference call meeting with Alfreda and the regional supervisor. While Linnet had made a pot of coffee for Elvinia that morning, all of it had already been consumed. Whereas Linnet started her workday at 8 a.m., Elvinia's started at 11 a.m. Much to her dismay, the first item on Elvinia's agenda was also a meeting. Rather than have it in Elvinia's section of R&D, she and her team of arcanists were meeting in one of the communal conference rooms with the long tables. She moved into the conference room and beheld her 4 arcanists. Abjeed, Goranda, and Yatef all sat on one side of the table, and they conversed with one another animatedly. Abjeed had light pink hair and baby blue eyes. Goranda had white hair and solid black eyes, and Yatef had violet eyes with a shaved head. The 3 of them had all been friends in college, and had been delighted to have been hired at the same time. Since the beginning of Elvinia's reign as head of R&D, it was just her and the 3 of them, for 3.5 years. All 3 of them were definitely hardworking and diligent, but they were just boring. And then came the newest member of the R&D team, a young and impressive Olilee. Today, Olilee sat on the other side of the table, and she was busy tapping on her little laptop. A determined glare was on her face. Elvinia rounded the corner and sat at the head. A wily grin spread across her face, and she started laughing. Her arcanists gazed at her with wide eyes, but one by one they each started to smile.
Sorry. Whenever I sit at the head of a table at a meeting, I feel like a supervillain. Let's get down to business.
Elvinia leaned forward, and she rested her attention on the arcanists.
We are in a serious situation. There may be, in fact, another Nymphian company in the city trying to harvest the Nom energy. At the moment, we have only encountered 2 different operatives, but the likelihood that there are more is fairly high. And if there is a competing company, that means there's also a competing R&D department.
Abjeed's eyes opened wide. Goranda sat back in her chair and averted her eyes, and Yatef covered her mouth with her hands. Olilee, on the other hand, narrowed her eyes and stared harder at Elvinia.
In order for us to be successful, we're going to have to alter the sort of tech we're developing. I know that this might...
Are we going to have to fight? We're not going to have to fight, are we?
We, as R&D, are probably not going to have to fight.
Oh, goddess.
We didn't sign up for a combat situation. We just wanted to develop Anim energy artifacts and have a chill assignment. We're not operatives or warriors.
Ladies,
We all heard about the last group of R&D Arcanists who were stationed here. Oh, goddess. We don't want to end up like them.
No, we most certainly don't.
You won't make us fight, will you, ma'am?
I won't necessarily make you fight, but you may have to go into the field to help with artifact and technology installation and support.
But we're not operatives. There's no
Oh, shut up! All of you! You're all cowards! You call yourself Arcanists? It's pathetic!
The other trio of Arcanists shrank down in their chairs, and they glared at Olilee with a mixture of frustration and apprehension. Elvinia cocked her head, and she simply watched.
We're Arcanists. We make solutions for the problems we face. All you're doing is complaining and creating more problems. It's not fair to Elvinia. She didn't ask for this to happen, but she's doing her best too. You three are smart, so calm down and start making artifacts that will help. That's all she's asking for.
It's true. I'd never ask you to do something you're not comfortable with. Furthermore,
And if none of you want to go into the field, then I'll go! I'm not scared!
Olilee, sit. We can discuss that at a later time, but I do appreciate the offer. So long as you all design artifacts that are easy enough for any operative to use, then none of you will probably have to go into the field. So, let's all take a brief breather, and then we can focus. It's like Olilee said, we're all Arcanists, and we can find solutions to these problems.
Yatef was the first to visually relax, followed by Goranda. Abjeed only stopped trembling when her friends reached over and placed their hands on her hand.
I'm sorry I freaked out.
We all are.
No worries. Don't forget, I was the only surviving member of the last R&D team. I know better than anyone else how crazy it can get. That's exactly why I'm not going to needlessly risk any of you. I won't lie to you. It could get dangerous, especially if it erupts into a turf war.
But how could it get dangerous? I mean, it's just us trying to harvest autumn energy. We're safe here, right?
Karina, our newest operative, was attacked by one of the enemy Nymphians. She might have died, had it not been for one of our Arcanists' unorthodox minion designs.
Olilee grinned widely.
Now, if you three don't want to run field work, I'm going to have to assign you to other projects. Also, I'll need you to be more innovative when it comes to designing useful defense artifacts. Can you three do that?
Abjeed, Goranda, and Yatef all nodded.
Abjeed, I want you to remain on Anam energy refining, but continue to explore options to speed up the process, as well as improving the quality of the refined Anam energy.
Yes, ma'am.
Yatef, I want you to work on Citadel defenses, which includes working on better surveillance, shielding, and magical turret defenses. While it might be unlikely, we have to prepare for the threat of invasion.
Yes, ma'am.
Goranda, work with her on those projects, so we can have double the brain power on it. However, I want you to also incorporate initiatives to create smaller, portable versions of shields and turrets for our operatives.
For a moment, Yatef and Goranda grinned at one another.
Let's be clear. Make sure you two keep the kissing off clock, okay?
Abjeed giggled into her hand, while both Yatef and Goranda turned bright red. Olilee crossed her arms over her chest and grinned.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen, I don't really care about that sort of thing, but don't do it on site anymore. Moving on to you.
Elvinia gestured toward Olilee.
If you're up for handling all the field work, then you and I can focus on Anam energy extraction, primary site defenses, and minion development.
Yes! I love that!
Great, let's stop here for now. I'll come by each of your sections to have follow-up meetings to go into greater detail on your assignments. I have full faith in all of you.
The whiteness faded from around Elvinia.
Home at last. Ugh, so hungry.
Elvinia trudged up to the front door, wearily fumbled for the house key, and then she opened the door.
I'm home.
Before she realized it, her stomach rumbled angrily again, and then she smelled it. A seductive aroma wrapped around her and coaxed her to enter. Just after Elvinia closed the door, a little head popped out of the kitchen.
Auntie Elvinia! Welcome home!
Little Duinya merely skipped out to greet her, and so Elvinia bent down to peer at the young child.
Oh yeah, I forgot you were coming over to our place tonight. Are you helping Auntie Linnet with dinner? Whatever it is, it smells great.
Yep! Auntie Linnet let me help with stirring some stuff. It was really fun. Did you have a good day at work?
It was... day.
Linnet stepped out of the kitchen wearing a pink apron.
Oh, that day, huh? I saw that your schedule was with meetings and such all day. We made some meaty chili. Would you like a bowl?
Ugh, why are you so good to me?
What are besties for? Duinya, how about you watch some cartoons while your auntie and I talk? Go ahead and sit down. I'll get you a bowl.
Elvinia plopped down at the dining room table, while Duinya skipped to their living room. Linnet moved into the kitchen. As soon as she was seated, a wave of exhaustion splashed into Elvinia from all sides, pulling her down deeply. She yawned, and her eyelids drooped a little. A moment later, Linnet returned with a bowl of chili and a cup of hot, fresh black coffee.
Thank you.
Linnet sat across from Elvinia and grinned.
After you eat, I'd love to hear about how the planning meetings went.
Sure.
And so for the next 10 minutes, Elvinia spooned the delicious chili into her mouth. In addition to the chunky meat, there were mushrooms, beans, and corn. The coffee was still hot, and it was so strong. Rivers of life and energy flowed into Elvinia's empty soul.
So, how'd it go? Was it a productive day?
Oh, it was. I had a bunch of meetings and supervising to do for other projects. At the beginning of the day, most of my Arcanist team freaked out when I told them how serious it was.
Freaked out? That sucks. I mean, I get it. The whole concept of a turf war is pretty frightening. To be honest, I'm pretty nervous about it myself. If things go badly, you and I will have to step up and lead by example.
Yeah. It's been so long since you've had to sing. Are you going to be ready to jump back into the fray?
Yeah, I've been practicing again. And warming up my vocal cords just in case. I kind of forgot what my singing voice sounded like.
It is a beautiful voice. And I'm glad to hear you're flexing the old vocal cords again. I know how you feel about violence and aggressive operations.
Oh, it's fine. It's one of the necessary aspects I need to overcome to secure this life I love. These other Nymphians are affecting my inner peace, and so, I have to fight.
You really have found your calling, with horticulture, I mean. The front garden and the back glade look amazing. Have you ever considered doing it full-time?
Sometimes, but horticulture isn't the only thing I love in this life. I love being able to go to work with my friends. I love this city that we've made into our home.
Linnet's smile grew wider.
And, of course, there's you. I'm so glad you're in my life.
I'm glad you're in my life, too. It's been a great 5 years. And now, all the things we love are being threatened.
We'll get through this. We overcame Merica. We can overcome this, too.
A small smile grew on Linnet's face when she peeked over at Duinya, who sat on the couch with her legs swinging. Elvinia shifted in her chair and she gazed at the small Nymphian child, too. It was hard not to absorb some of that delight.
She's pretty wonderful, huh? It's crazy to see how far she's come. Or how far we've come. I hope for 1,000,000 more days like this.
1,000,000 plus 1,000,000. Question. Do you ever want any?
Do I want any? Oh, you mean kids? I mean, maybe. Do you?
Linnet simply smiled broader.
I better get an A. I will. No one knows as much about ancient burial objects as me, because I read all the books. All of them.
Raquel pushed open the door to the student union and walked outside. Most of the campus was bathed in darkness, as the sun had set hours ago, but the sidewalks winding through the campus were illuminated by light posts. The cool night air sweetly kissed Raquel's cheeks, and she smirked a little. She was just about to let the door close, but she noticed a familiar face approach the student union. The man was a tall fellow with a short brown hairstyle, a pair of glasses on his face, and a pair of inviting brown eyes. He was a larger guy, with a slight stomach, but all in all, Paul was built like a teddy bear. He wore some gray slacks, a pair of black loafers, a white buttoned-up shirt, a matching gray vest, and a black tie. Raquel held the door open for him.
Hey, Paul. How's it going? Here for a club event or something?
Hey, Raquel! Yeah, I'm in charge of the University Club for the Stony Thriller Picture Show Live Shadow Cast Club on campus. And tonight is our first meeting of the year. Assigning parts, dealing with divas, all that jazz. It's my responsibility to attract new blood. Otherwise, we won't be able to keep doing shows.
Ah, that's cool. Are you performing as Teddy again this year?
Nope. I've stepped up now and I'm doing Dr. Dragula. Our first show's in October. You should come.
You tell me when, and I'll be there. Have a good night.
Oh, you too.
Paul strolled inside the student union, while Raquel walked onto the sidewalk that led into the shadows. Somewhere out there was her residence hall. Good old Isadora Hall, the most haunted residence hall on campus. When the campus tour guide regaled her and her parents with the grisly history of Isadora Hall, Raquel knew in her heart of hearts that was the place she needed to be. Her parents were less than thrilled, but in the end, Raquel got her way. According to the story, Isadora Hall used to be the mansion of the university president more than 50 years ago. His name was Cornelius von Bronto, and he was a well-to-do son of an oil baron. Upon accepting the cushy gig from one of his father's friends, Cornelius had this massive building built on university property. Little did the university staff and student body know, Cornelius had a dark secret. Apparently, he worshipped demons and killed random students in crazy blood sacrifices to some horrid mistress of the shadows. It was also eldritch evil themed, and Raquel adored it. The story ended with the urban legend that Cornelius was found murdered under mysterious circumstances, and people say the culprit was an otherworldly spirit who was set loose in the building. The university reclaimed and repurposed the building and turned it into student housing, all at the direction of the succeeding university president, Adele Isidore. However, hundreds of students over the years claimed to hear disembodied voices or seeing shadows at the corner of their eyes. Raquel hadn't seen anything despite her hopes. The building was built like an old-world castle with a stone exterior, a pair of tall towers on either side of the structure, and unusually narrow-shaped windows. Raquel approached the pair of gigantic, dark wooden doors, and she pulled one of them open. Due to the modern advances in hinge engineering, the doors opened with ease and muted elegance. Surprisingly, the first floor was pretty dark, with only emergency lights along the way. A student had fallen asleep on one of the couches in the foyer, and their arms and legs dangled off the couch's edge.
Girl, it's a Tuesday. Learn some moderation.
She walked up the stairs to the second floor and then to the third where her room was. However, as soon as she turned to the left and started traipsing down the hall, she heard someone whimpering. Several of the doorways to the other students' rooms were kicked open, and they hung ajar. It was very dark, and only a couple of emergency lights were on in the hallway. The whimpering was continuous.
Please, stop. Please.
Please stop. Please. No.
Raquel's heart twisted in her chest when someone crawled out from one of the doors. It was Edgar, a guy who was in the same major as her, and he was in a few of her classes. His face was bruised, his nose bleeding, and his eyes shimmered in the poor light. He had managed to crawl at chest length into the hall when their eyes met.
Raquel, run!
Ooh, is there another delicious victim out there? Yes! Mama is gonna get her rocks off tonight! You, go fetch the new meat. I'll finish off this one.
Edgar disappeared back into the room, dragged by whatever was inside. Seconds later, a figure emerged from the room. It had dark storm gray flesh that resembled melted candle wax, no visible face, and a pair of ominous red eyes. In terms of size, it was slightly shorter than her.
Okay, if you're trying to play a joke on me, I'm going to warn you now. I will kick your ass!
The wax figure charged her. Raquel's heart clenched in her chest, and she turned to run. However, she came to an abrupt halt right before a second wax figure coming up the stairs. Grating silence lingered throughout the entire residence hall, even in the wake of Edgar's scream. To her horror, the first figure was approaching fast, with no sign of slowing down. Raquel hopped to the side, and the first one collided with the second. They collapsed to the ground, and the sound of their bodies slapping together made her wince.
You could have really hurt me. You better stop joking around, or I'm going to get serious.
The pair of wax figures slowly stood up, but said nothing. With grim quiet, they began turning toward her. Raquel went forward, grabbed one of them by the side, and then flung them over the banister. The figure fell from sight, and the second one took determined steps toward her. A loud smashing sound echoed in the quiet residence hall.
That was on you. If this is a joke, then that is your fault.
Of course it's not a joke, sweetie. We're really here to hurt you, to drain you of your life energy and make you absolutely despair. I love it when your kind fights back.
Raquel placed her back against the wall, and she regarded the small-sized person who walked up to her from the direction of Edgar's room. 2 more wax figures were behind her. The small figure grinned with a wide, hungry smile and a pair of amethyst-colored irises. Those eyes swirled with malevolence. She had long, sapphire-colored hair. Her attire consisted of a sleeveless shirt that matched her eyes, and a coal-black skirt that went to her mid-thighs. She also wore some black coal boots with leather laces that stopped halfway up her calves. Most notable was her pointed ears.
Are you the evil spirit who killed Cornelius von Bonto?
You're the 5th person to ask me that. No, I'm not some kooky shadow mistress worshipped by some stupid old man. I'm something so much worse.
A wax figure came up the stairs, and it had large cracks on its sides and chest. Its face was blank, and yet Raquel could almost imagine a seething rage festering from it.
I hope you like being tortured, because I love taking it nice and slow before I empty my playthings of their soul energy.
You're not going to hurt anyone else. I won't let you.
A series of plant vines stretched up from the lower floors and grabbed the cracked wax figure on the stairs. A moment later, it flung the creature toward the evil, childlike villainous. She ducked, but her smile grew wider.
Run, girl, run!
Raquel leapt toward the stairs and nearly tumbled down them. She caught her footing and then sprinted down to the 2nd floor. When she did, she came upon a figure. She was dressed in an outlandish green and white magical girl outfit and had a slender staff in her hand. Her face was sort of pixelated, but Raquel still saw the smile. Vines and plant tentacles stretched from the 1st floor somewhere.
Oh my gosh! Are you Sparkle Guardian Demeter?
You actually know who I am? We can talk about that later. We have to get away.
Don't just stand there, you idiots! Go after them!
We have to get outside, where my power will be stronger.
Raquel followed Sparkle Guardian Demeter down the stairs to the first floor. The plants had bored up from the ground right in the middle of the floor and beside the unconscious girl on the couch. Cold acid splashed inside Raquel's stomach, and she resisted the urge to throw up. They made it outside and then stopped abruptly. The small, childlike creature stood on the sidewalk out front of Isidore Hall, with 2 other wax figures beside her. 2 more had come in from behind them, exiting the residence hall.
Did you really think you would get away? I told you when we first met. I am going to break you.
Run! They'll focus on me!
In that moment, Raquel's body heeded the magical girl's command before her mind could process. She ran to the side, and surprisingly, the wax minions didn't follow her. Instead, they all stepped up to surround Sparkle Guardian Demeter. Even the horrid little monster elf stared at the magical girl with hungry eyes. However, after a few feet, Raquel stopped when she heard Sparkle Guardian Demeter grunt loudly. She turned around and beheld the commotion. A sudden hotness began bubbling up inside her. Sparkle Guardian Demeter, the famous underground protector of the city, swung her staff and commanded spiked plants to rise up from the ground to attack the wax figures. However, while 2 of the figures were grabbed by vines, the remaining 3 and the scary little person attacked her with punches and kicks. Sparkle Guardian Demeter parried the attacks away, but the little demoness kept scoring solid strikes and then dipping away before the magical girl could counterattack. Raquel's stomach tightened, and her breathing got quicker.
I can't leave her. I just can't. I'm so going to get hurt.
Raquel took a single step toward the fighting, but then noticed something strange. Her skin shimmered with a rippling green and golden energy, as if she were covered in a thin layer of oil. She gasped and tightened her core. A sudden ball of magic appeared in front of her, also glowing with pulsating green and golden light. It buzzed in circles for a moment like a bee, before hovering right before Raquel's face.
Whoa there, girl! You can't just go in there like that. You're gonna get killed.
I have to do something. If I don't, Sparkle Guardian Demeter is going to die.
Oh, we're gonna do something, all right. We're gonna kick their ass. But first, I have to know, are you prepared to let me help you? It comes with some hefty promises.
I'll do anything. Please help me fight those monsters.
Do you swear to rise to the occasion and be the guardian this world needs you to be? Do you swear to square up and combat the forces of evil in whatever form it comes? Do you swear to save humanity from outside forces and ensure that future generations can grow and thrive?
I swear.
Hell yeah! That's what I'm talking about. Then take my token, call my name, and be my champion.
The globe of light disappeared, leaving only a golden coin floating in midair. On either side of the coin was the image of a scythe. Raquel took it, raised it above her head, and grinned. The name she was supposed to mention echoed in the depths of her soul.
Persephone Sparkling Power!
The world around her fell away as a sphere of gold and green spiraling energy encapsulated her. Gently unseen energies lifted her up off the ground, and her body glowed intensely. Her clothes disappeared, and yet Raquel didn't feel odd or vulnerable. No, in this magical field, she was a goddess. Magical garments began manifesting onto her. A pair of golden greaves covered her legs, while a pair of golden sandals slipped onto her feet. Dark green leggings slid over her thighs and waist. She wore a golden breastplate, a dark green sleeved undershirt, and a pair of golden bracers. Her tight gloves were also dark green. A golden circlet stretched across her forehead. Lastly, magical light stretched up from one of her hands, and she instinctively gripped the handle of the weapon that was forming. When the weapon finished extending, she held the shaft of a mighty scythe. The pole of the scythe was a dark golden shade, while the blade of the scythe looked to be made of beautiful sunlight. Its bright yellow illumination shimmered in the night as Sparkle Guardian Persephone entered the world for the very first time. The wax creatures, the little demon thing, and Sparkle Guardian Demeter all stared at her. The smaller figure pointed toward her.
Distract that one while I finish with her.
The 5 wax creatures rushed toward Persephone, while Demeter resumed dodging the little one's attacks.
This scythe is called Weed Slayer. Go on and show those bastards what it can do. Going forward, know that I am always with you. I am you now.
Persephone took in another reassuring breath, and she brought the scythe back a little. As soon as one of the wax figures got close enough, she hopped back and then swung with all of her might. While it appeared to be clunky, the scythe was actually light as a feather in her grip. The blade cleaved through one of the wax figures easily, and then she spun around to dodge the others. Whenever they punched or kicked at her, Persephone either struck them with the blunt end of her scythe, or she gored them with its point. Surprisingly, the blade never got stuck, and it came out without strain. She spun the scythe around herself, and then sliced off a wax creature's arm and a third creature's leg. Now that she was only fighting one adversary, Demeter was doing much better. Plant vines with jagged thorns on them tried to grapple the little monster girl, but the demonic little sprite tumbled, twirled, and somersaulted around them. When the last of the wax figures was finally cut apart, Persephone pivoted and ran toward where Demeter was. The little villain backflipped away several feet and then landed with a flourish of the hands.
Oh, it looks like we're going to have to cut our playdate short. How sad. Next time, I'll bring someone else too, and then we can have some real fun.
The demonic fairy elf pulled out a slender black crystal and then held it above her head. After a dark blue flash of light, she was gone.
Is it really over? Did we win?
Yeah, we did. Had you not stepped in, I probably would have been defeated. So, you are?
The little voice inside my head tells me I'm Sparkle Guardian Persephone. It's really... Oh my goddess.
What is it? Did that evil little Nymphian come back?
No, it's not that. It's your face.
My face? Oh, because it was pixelated before. Yeah, that happened to me when I first transformed. Did you imagine my face looking different?
I don't know what I imagined, but I have to say, you are gorgeous!
Oh, thank you.